All right, JoeyRitter.com, on Twitter at Joey Ritter. I got my BFF, Carl George, on the other line. Carl, how you doing over there?
I'm doing great, Joe.
I'm excited to have you on for the big year-end 2012 year-end review show. Couldn't think of a better guest than my BFF that I've had since 7th grade. We didn't quite hit it off in 6th grade, but, 1994, big year in music, big year for friendship. Carl George, good to have you.
Glad to be here, Joe. It's a long time coming.
Did you have a good Christmas?
Christmas was great. Christmas is one long vacation for me. I took off the whole week, so just doing my thing.
Does it actually feel like a vacation?
Yeah, it does, because I actually have nothing, tied up all the loose ends at work, and there's really no outstanding things I have to be concerned with.
Yeah, it must be nice, my friend. I had like 4 destinations in 3 days. Lots of driving, lots of eating desserts with different family members. Not a huge fan of it, but, it's over and done. And now New Year's Eve is upon us, Carl. Big thing, unfortunately we had some celebrity deaths this year, one of them being Dick Clark. This is going to be the first New Year's Eve without Dick Clark. Did Dick Clark ring in your New Year's Eves that you can remember?
He was always the guy that was on the television, obviously, but from what I remember, being out, at a bar or at a party, you obviously, he was a staple, somebody you would just expect to see on the television, but I can't say that myself and our generation, we can really have too close of a tie to him. I think Seacrest, more than anything, is probably more someone we'll all grow closer to.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I'm a Seacrest fan. I mean, some people are quick to judge the guy, but he is what he is. He's just an entertainer. He's a good speaker. Keeps it moving. He looks the part. And he can be quirky every once in a while. I'm actually looking forward to see what he can do. And I heard that they're still going to call it Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve.
Right.
Which I guess, pay the guy a little tribute. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you got to wonder how long that'll actually go on for. If eventually someone pulls the plug on that, but
till Ryan Seacrest dies, and then they'll call it Ryan Seacrest's Rockin' New Year's Eve.
Right. But there's probably some contracts that say that he has the right to the naming rights to that for a certain amount of time. So who knows?
Yeah. Now, 2012, Carl, very dark year in Philadelphia sports. Not a lot going on. I mean, I guess there was a lot going on, but not really good news. I guess we can start with the Eagles, since they're kind of the team on the way out right now. What can you tell me about the Eagles? I mean, I kind of checked out about 5 games ago.
Right. Well, I mean, if you think back, it really started at the beginning of the year with the run that they made towards the end of last season. Really set themselves up to lose out on a lot with the draft in April. So basically, if the Eagles would have tanked at the end of last season, which they didn't, they did the opposite. They ran off 4 straight wins. They went 8-8, and they drafted towards the middle of the pack. If things would have gone a little differently, they would have actually had a chance for this guy down in Washington, RG3. Or it was a really rich draft for quarterbacks this year. This upcoming year, what I'm hearing is it's the exact opposite. So obviously they're looking at a 4-12 year or 5-11 year this year. You're right, it's dark. I mean, you've got a lame duck coach and a lame duck team. None of those guys out there, did much after that Bobby Dawkins or Brian Dawkins retirement night, where they came out and beat the Giants. So yeah, I mean, everything kind of ran its course with the Eagles. You could kind of see the writing on the wall last year. Laurie came out, he gave a big speech saying, "I'm going to back Andy Reid one last time here," and everybody saw the writing on the wall and knew that it wasn't going to work out, but put their faith in him one last time. Right. And then everything kind of materialized the way you thought it would. Vic got injured. Reed tanked. The players didn't want to back him up, and they were playing all for themselves. He goes out and fires his D coordinator, a guy that he hired and brought in, fires his D line coach. So, he's doing a horrible tragedy that happens with his family. So it really was a crazy turn of events. I mean, a lot of the pundits had them ranked and pretty highly and as contenders in the NFC. So goes to show you that preseason hype and acquisitions and big name players that you bring in don't go as far as you think. It's a young league. It's a league where guys come in, get drafted. RG3's got them in position to go to the playoffs. Andrew Luck, the guy over at the Colts, has them going in. So at the end of the day, ready for a change.
Ready for a change. Now, obviously, I guess the pundits or whoever, the signs are looking that Andy Reid's not going to be back next year. You think that's going to make a bit of difference? Do you think a new coach, is going to make all the difference, or do you think they're still going to be, a losing record team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you never know. The guy that tried to target this Chip Kelly guy out of Oregon, he's the head coach up there, has a brilliant offensive mind, apparently, and he can scheme. But how that will translate to the NFL, we'll have to wait and see.
Do you think they should have Michael Vick as the quarterback next year?
I'm not a Vick guy myself. I think all signs are pointing towards him departing as well. But from what I've seen from Foles, I'm not too sure he's the guy we can lean on either.
Right.
We might be entering an era that you and I were familiar with back when the pre-McNabb years with Hoying and Coy Detmer and the other guy, Rodney Peete, where we had a lost identity. We had Ray Rhodes. I mean, so that's a little scary. Where we could enter it. We might be looking at these 4 and 12, 5 and 11 years for the next 2-3 years before we get our franchise quarterback. Because really, Joe, at the end of the day, that's really where you win and lose. I mean, think about it. Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, all these guys that have won the Super Bowl, all their teams, they're built around that central player, and you need a good draft to identify that kind of talent and trade up for it and make moves versus going after the Mike Mamulas and the guys that aren't going to make such a big impact.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, sucks, but I guess we're headed for another dark age in Philadelphia Eagles land. Now, shifting gears, I guess, Phillies, another dark season, but I'll give them a pass, I guess, because it was obvious when Chase Utley and Ryan Howard came back. They really turned the corner and just had a great second half of the season. So I'm not too worried about them. Sure, they have their holes. There's question marks in a lot of spots, but they seem to sign some pretty decent players. I think they're going to be fine next year. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing with the Phillies, which was crazy, is they hadn't had a game that didn't count or matter in the standings in the playoff race in something like 8 years, and it just happened to occur maybe a week before the end of the season this year. So all those sellouts in a row and all that momentum they built finally came to a head this year with the injuries, like you said. But I think next year they'll pick up back where they left off. I am a little concerned with the Nationals and how they've built their team. They are pretty dangerous, and how many wins they racked up last year. Now that they got some postseason experience, they're going to be something to and Atlanta's always Atlanta. So I tell you what, are you going to get out to any games this year, Joe?
I hope so. Yeah, I didn't. I got to one game last year, but yeah, I'll definitely be there. Citizens Bank Park. I mean, it's just I feel like I have good experience with other ballparks, and Citizens Bank is in the top 3 or 4 ballparks in the country, bar none.
Really? You'd put it up against all the other ones you've been to?
Well, I mean, I've never been to Fenway, so I can't speak to that. But yeah, I mean, I've seen San Francisco, Seattle. Wrigley Field I would probably put as the number 1 place just because.
So okay, Wrigley, but then you would rank the Phillies before San Fran?
I think so because the crowd's a little bit more crazy.
How about LA? You were in LA, right?
Yeah, I really liked LA. I was kind of surprised by it. The fans were very Philly-esque. They were boisterous, you
Right.
know, and the stadium just had a really, you know, with the palm trees in the outfield, just what I'm used to seeing on TV. And Matt Stairs hitting that home run in 2008.
Right.
I mean, it's like that was like my favorite baseball moment, and I was sitting in the stadium where that happened. It was pretty sweet.
That was unreal.
Right. So
I hope you can punch that up and plug that in at this part of our.
I don't think you, dude. I mean, where do you find MLB footage? I mean,
I'm sure somebody's got a bootlegged. If you type that into YouTube, you could probably find that.
Yeah.
But I second that. That was the last guy I thought that would, you know, be a NLCS hero.
Yeah, I gotta get Matt Stairs on JoeyRitter.com. I think I could.
I think you got a shot. I think.
Now,
we'll plug his next autograph appearance at Hometown Sports in Havertown or wherever he's at.
Awesome. Now, I don't even know. I don't even want to really get into the NHL lockout because I just, you know, it's obviously the sport I'm into the most. But it's like, you know, Christmas passed, New Year's, nothing, no talks, no nothing. And, you know, it's just all I see are tweets about how players are doing in other countries and players signing with other countries. Danny Briere just signed, you know, with his German team to the end of the year. But there is a clause that if the NHL does come back, that, you know, he'll be reinstated with the Flyers. But it's just, yeah, it's so lame. They're shooting themselves in the foot. Not that they ever really were gonna overtake any of the other three sports, but they had pretty good momentum, and you know,
Yeah.
they know that the knuckleheads like me are going to come back drooling when they finally do come back, but the casual
Right.
fans, like, you know, they're done. They're out.
Yeah, and I think what's lost in it is, or what's, you know, some people don't think about is, what about all the other people impacted? Like the guy that does, the usher that relies on that as side, you know, additional income, or the guy that's our age that works in marketing or does ticket sales for him.
Right.
And now they're refunding all the tickets. I mean, just think of the amount of money that is lost out. People that park down there and sell, you know, pirated T-shirts or what have you. It's a huge loss, and that's why I was so surprised. And I guess it's going on until the 11th or so when they'll make the final decision. But you think when there's that much money at stake, both parties will, you know, we'll say, let's get this squared away.
Yeah. Now you mentioned pirated T-shirts. Are you a fan of the pirated T-shirts?
You know, back if you ask the senior in high school, Carl George Manuelian, I think I would be. But I think I probably have been burned once too many on those, because they go in the laundry and they come out looking like an extra small.
You never know, man. Maybe in 2012 they've improved on the pirated
Right.
T-shirt technology.
I bet. I just want to know where those things come from. I mean, is there like this printing? Like somebody's got to get a hold of a licensed Eagles or Phillies logo somehow, and or the, you know, whatever band it is touring.
Yeah, well, back in my band days, you know, I was around a lot of people who had screen printing businesses, and they would take the screen, you know, they'd screen print the T-shirt, and then they'd run it through like a heat set thing to kind of stamp the image on the shirt. Maybe the Pirates just kind of silk screen, let it dry, move on. You know, they don't heat set and treat it like they should, Carl.
Okay.
All right. Now, you're a big Olympic guy ever since I'd known you, you know, back when they had the Olympics, in Atlanta, and they ran, you know,
They ran right up
Pike.
the corner of Westchester Pike. I remember it was the last day of school, right? And I had my video camera out and saw that torch coming up Westchester Pike, and that was it. It was like a 10-second thing, and everybody just was like, all right.
Well, you want to talk about putting footage on the internet. Do you still have that footage?
It's probably in one of those tapes that I'd have to put in a tape and then put in a VCR. But again, you could probably find that somewhere out there on the internet.
Yeah. Well, I want to see the Newtown Square version. You gotta get on that, man. You don't have anything to do on this vacation, man. Just walk downstairs.
All right.
There, right? hook a brother up. But yeah, I got way into the Summer Olympics this year. I mean, all the sports. Gymnastics was the big one. Not a big running fan, but I was into the swimming and I was into the gymnastics the most.
Absolutely. The swimming translated really well to television for some reason, because they would have that line and it would move, and you'd be like, man, this dude's like killing the world record.
Yeah.
And a lot of world records, I think, were broken in that Olympics. And I remember sitting at work and seeing some tweets come across that would be spoiler tweets, you know?
Right.
And 4 years ago, didn't have Twitter, didn't even on Facebook, people weren't updating. Phelps just, you know, killed it in the 500 and won his 12th medal. So, I mean, I guess you could check certain websites, but this year I knew as soon as it was happening, it would hit my Twitter. And I remember you saying, for some reason, I don't know how you had this this patience, but you would actually watch it live.
Yeah, well, that's usually
that takes a lot of discipline, Joe.
It takes a lot of discipline, but I couldn't do that for like a hockey game or something that I really cared about the outcome. Like I could sit and chill and watch the Olympics, have it on the DVR, pause it.
But the outcome was him being either the greatest Olympian of all time or someone tied with. You know what I mean? It was pretty significant.
Yeah, I can wait 9 hours for that information. I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
And they always, you know what, the Olympics they would always put that last event at like 11 o'clock. So you'd be like, all right.
They got you, yeah. But I think it has to do with, you know, obviously what country it's in and the time delay. But
yeah, I mean, just watching Phelps come out, that's one guy that he blew my mind. His focus, you'd see it in his eyes. He would wear the headphones when he came out. He's in the suit. And that dude was dialed in. I mean, there was nobody taking him out of his element. Yeah. And you saw it in his eyes. You're just like, this dude is he's gonna jump in that pool and he's gonna take over. And then a couple of those came down to like fingertips when he finished. But yeah, for some reason, swimming, I think, out of all the events was the best. You know, it's pretty quick. It's no more than 2-3 minutes, and they've enhanced it a little bit with HD and with some of the lines they have to show you where the world record is.
Right on. Now, Carl, do you know what the most downloaded song on iTunes was in 2012? If you had to guess. You're not being graded.
Was it was it Call Me Maybe?
It in fact was Call Me Maybe.
Nice. Now, when was the first time you heard Call Me Maybe?
First time I heard Call Me Maybe, actually, I think when we were in line for Broad Street, you know,
really?
Our friends Aaron and Chrissy were in line with us, and they were talking about it.
I think I heard it.
I didn't understand what they were talking about.
That. I think it was on O&A, and they absolutely hated the song, and they had Kenny sing it. And I was like, this is so catchy, you know? And then my brother was telling me he started playing it a lot, and all the, just like tons of people love it. I mean, obviously young people like it, girls in their 20s like it. It really transcended everything.
It totally transcended everything because, like, guys liked it. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know how many guys liked it.
No, man. I know a lot of guys that liked it. I'm not going to mention any because it would be irrelevant to people listening to this. But, you know, it just was a song that guys weren't afraid to admit that they liked for some reason. It had some kind of, like, you know, charm about it.
It has a lot of build up to it. I mean, it starts out slow. And anything that kind of starts out slow, people wait for that climax, and when it hits that climax, people are just ready. You know?
It doesn't take very long to get to the climax in that song. Probably about 15 seconds, Carl. But
no, it takes a lot longer than that.
Oh yeah.
Think of how it starts.
What's the over/under on the climax?
Dun, dun, dun. You know, it starts real slow, and she has like a verse.
And then she builds up.
I would say 45 to a minute.
You know what?
But when that hits, I mean, it's like fist pumping time.
I'm taking the under on 45. I think. We'll double check.
All right,
that.
We'll punch that up as well with the Matt Stairs. That'll be the second thing.
All right. Yeah. Now, Gangnam Style was obviously a huge song.
Gangnam Style, I'll never forget hearing that for the first time. I was listening to Q102 while I was running, and the guy threw it on, and I was just like, dude, this is so high tempo, high energy. I loved it from the first time I heard it, and then I Googled it obviously and learned more about it. And just recently, I heard it hit a billion views, which is just ridiculous. And that, again, another song that transcends. I think that transcends even more. I mean, there's corporate executives at my company that have danced to that song. You know, that's something you'll see at weddings, or you'll see at middle school dances, or you know, at 60th, you know, birthday parties. So.
Yeah, again, I mean,
there's always room for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the parodies and all the nonsense that comes out after it kind of makes you dislike the song for a while. But yeah, 10 years from now, you know, when I hear that song at a wedding, it'll put me back in 2012, and I'll just have that good feeling. It is a fun song. It's catchy. Like, there's, you know, it's a harmless, good song. And
apparently, I don't know much about the controversy that was associated with it, but the guy had to make some apologies for things he said. I don't know. Did you hear much about that? He said some things about America that aggravated a lot of people. I don't know if it was taken out of context or what. But
in the song, or like?
No, I think it was after the fact. But you know, he had so much press attention that I guess.
Yeah, if you had that much press attention, I'm sure you would offend somebody somewhere. You know. But yeah, so a couple other songs that. You know, Gautier. Were you a big fan of that one?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was that little beat that, you know, looped through the song. What was it? What was that noise? Yeah. What do you think that was? Like just a guitar riff?
I think it might have been some kind of electronica thing. I don't know. You know what? That song didn't really. I thought it was, the guy was a good singer and all, but I was never excited to hear that song. Like, when that song came on, I was never yes. You know? And, like, Call Me Maybe, I would be like, yeah. Here we go. Repeat, repeat, repeat.
Turn it up.
You know, I was down. And that song, another huge song was that Fun song, We Are Young.
Yes.
I'm all right with that one, too.
That song's not bad. I actually had that on my running playlist at one point, because it builds up a little bit, and it's got a nice steady beat to it.
What else is on Carl George's running playlist?
Well, I mix it up. I mean, it's I've got like Rage Against the Machine and Metallica, you know, playlist, or I can go old school hip hop.
What's a good Rage Against the Machine running song?
Everything, man. Anything you can think of.
I don't know.
If you're doing like a quick run, you know, just like a mile or two, you just throw that in there and.
I could see Take the Power Back. I could see that being a good running song. Yeah. But like a song like Killing in the Name or Bulls on Parade, I don't know. That wouldn't pump me up.
Too hard. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I think
starts out too fast.
I need the tempo to kind of match the steps that I'm running.
I got you.
Yeah. So I don't know. A lot of good music in 2012. Another thing I got here is the top grossing movies that I've seen. Probably none, but I think that has to do with the fact that I had a baby in May and don't get out much anymore. But we got The Avengers, Dark Knight, and The Hunger Games as the top three. I saw The Hunger Games. I don't know. I didn't dislike it. It kept my attention all the way through, but it definitely didn't live up to the hype, I think.
Right. Did you read the book?
I did not read the book.
Okay.
I did not read the book.
I did not read the book or watch the movie. So I can't comment much on those aspects, but Dark Knight, what was it? The second one, Dark Knight?
The second in the series? No, I think it was at least the third.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that one was filmed in Pittsburgh, and I heard, you know, that was an interesting concept, that Pittsburgh was Gotham City for a while.
That is pretty cool.
You know, and they had Heinz Field in there, and they had a lot of Pittsburgh reference things, like Heinz Ward, which is one of the old Steelers, was in it.
Wait, so you didn't see the movie?
Didn't see it.
You got to see it, man.
I do. I have to see it.
I mean, you should mention that you lived in Pittsburgh for, what, 10, 12 years?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure, you know, there's a lot of areas of the city that, you know, are pretty well represented.
Went out.
So, did you think the end of the world was going to happen a week ago?
No, absolutely not, because that was what, the second time they tried to call that? Because do you remember that Phillies game we were at last year in 2011?
Oh yeah, what
And
was that?
the weird thing about that was it was pretty cloudy that day, and it was like the clouds were moving through, and it was kind of odd. But
Well,
and then this
like
year it was a really bad rainstorm, and it was windy as hell that night. I remember.
Yeah.
And but no, I mean, it was the end of the world for some people, but not everybody.
Well, yeah. But I don't know. It was the Mayans calendar for this year, and then I don't know. I forget what the thing was for the Phillies game, but it was a completely different end of the world scenario, and I forget. It's been so long.
Yeah, they went down with the Y2K people and all the other hoaxes that tried to. This one, I don't think it was that well. It was too close to the holidays. People had other things to worry about. You know, it was something like, it was just something thrown into the middle of the week that people commented on Facebook about.
Right on. Yeah, it's.
What a joke.
Y2K, I don't know how I would feel about it at this age, but when it happened, I mean, that seemed like a legitimate thing to be worried about.
Sure, there was like, you know, people who had, a lot of jobs were created during the Y2K boom because of the worry that there was going to be a large-scale crash.
Right.
And
you never know, like, what could go
you know,
wrong.
there's a more of a, yeah, it's a little more logical to think, you know, we're turning through to a new millennium, but with this, it's just, there wasn't nearly as much attention.
Did anything happen in Y2K? Like, did a computer cause...
It's a good question. I think we weren't in the working force yet, and we were in college, and, you know,
yeah.
I think it was the start of the .com bust, but I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, 2012, I don't know, it was a pretty good year. Was it a good year for you personally, Carl?
Yeah, I mean, hey, it was a good year. I mean, I think there was a lot of improvements
in your life.
Nah, I'm not going to get personal, but within society and just advancing in all
advancing with
aspects.
More tweets.
With what?
More tweets and Facebook updates.
Or Facebook updates. 4G hit the shelves. Let's see. There was a new iPhone.
I think what you should, before we hit record on the interview, you showed me what you got for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
I think you should bring that up.
So I'm really big into gadgets, and this is a Fitbit. Fitbit is essentially a pedometer that tells you how many steps you take in a day, how many floors you climb in a day, how many hours of sleep you get, how many miles you walk. Today I've walked 3.56 miles.
Now,
did quite a bit of mall walking.
Obviously, I can see the importance of like Run Keeper when you're training for a race and that type of thing. What are you going to do with the information that you walked, 1,000 steps?
So Joe, that's a a good
It's a great question, Carl. It's a great question.
So as human beings, we're designed to move, and we sit a lot at our desks at work. So when you have something like this on you, and you look at it, and you say, all right, my goal is 10,000 steps a day. I need to get off my butt, walk around, go to the water cooler, go downstairs, get some fresh air, and then it actually will make you healthier by having this on you.
So you have that on you all day.
Yeah, it has this little clip here you can put on your belt.
But can't they just make that?
Get on the wagon.
Can't they just make that an app for the iPhone or something?
They could. I don't know if there's technology in the side of this that helps you, like with the movement of it. Maybe the iPhone doesn't have that technology, but it syncs with the iPhone. It syncs with the Droid. It syncs with your computer, so you can track how you're doing. Try to keep those 10,000 steps going a day.
I'm making.
Joe, did you get anything? Did you get anything yourself that you want to share with the audience?
Sure, I'd love to, Carl. I got a Quebec Nordiques jersey. I'm a big hockey jersey collector, and that was a great one to add to the collection. Joe Sakic.
What's that get you up to? How many jerseys?
I don't know. It's maybe like 12 or 15, close to there.
Wow.
I mean, my wife is kind enough to get me a jersey every Christmas. So, I plan on being with her the rest of my life. So that's a lot of jerseys.
You're going to tap out eventually. You're going to have to go German League or whatever the Briere 2012 jersey.
Nah. I mean, I have to always have a current flyer. So I've got Briere right now, who's on the team, but I guess when his tenure ends, then I'll just replenish my Flyers jersey. So I'm sure there's going to be like, 8 or 10 Flyers jerseys along the way as well, Carl. I also got some Apple gift cards, and this is going to be the last JoeyRitter.com show with my old 2007 MacBook, as it's shipping currently, and I need to figure that all out, get Skype set up on that. But yeah, I dropped the bomb and got a new MacBook, so we'll see if that works out. But it is something I use every day, so I guess it's worth the cash.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So hey, Carl, I appreciate you being on the end of year show. I wish you the best in 2013, and let's make it a great one.
Yeah, man, it was real, and let's. I don't know, any final predictions for 2013? What, are we going to see a flying car or a
good question?
Another iPhone, an iPhone 6?
At work,
I think we're absolutely going to see an iPhone 6. I think
we'll definitely
have that in the works. I think I don't know. I mean, if you would have asked me if I would have an Instagram account and have 150 pictures on it, I wouldn't even know what to say to that last year at this time. But I think anything that's new will be technology related.
Yeah, first of all, Instagram, that was fairly new. I mean, that happened because you have a Droid, I have a Droid. That was like a
mid-year
only
thing, right,
for a while. And I was very excited when Instagram came to the Droid. But, I know you're a big Instagram guy, but my excitement died after a couple months, I think, with it. I don't know. I like Twitter. I like, getting feedback from people and asking questions and doing stupid hashtags and putting something really lame out there and seeing if it sticks and grows, or I just feel like I can't do that with Instagram.
Well, any final predictions for 2013?
No
comment
on that.
Will we see another Superstorm? Will we see
I do not believe.
Will we see a new head coach for the Eagles? Obviously, we will.
I believe we will see a head coach for the Eagles. I do not believe we will see another superstorm, hurricane. We could see some snowstorms this year, but I do not think there will be a hurricane that affects the East Coast like it did Sandy.
All right,
Carl.
Way to put yourself out there, Joe.
You know what? I think this might have to be an annual thing.
Sounds good.
And we'll do this again in 2013.
Yeah, we'll punch up the old one and see how right we were or wrong we were.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right.
You got it.